Hello and welcome to the Bonsai Wire podcast. I am Michael Hagedorn, your host for this episode. I'm joined by Kevin Faris, and today we are interviewing Chase Rosade, who was one of the very first people to study bonsai in Japan. He talks about the early days of bonsai in the 60s and early 70s in the United States. And he has some crazy stories from Japan, including one involving Bill Valvanis and a kidnapping, which is not a topic that is normally covered by bonsai podcasts, but of course that's what makes Bonsai Wire so unique. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to start in with Chase talking about his early days teaching.
I knew the man who owned the house, and I told him I was going to make a nursery in the backyard. I told him I was going to take the back porch and I was going to make a little work area out of it. Since he was a friend of mine, he didn't give a damn what I did as long as I kept it neat. So my first classes were in the kitchen. You know, I just moved the kitchen table and chairs out of the way and I'd give a bonsai class.
You're the head chef.
And that was probably 1960 or 50. Yeah, come on. Let's see.
65, 66.
65, 66, 67, yeah. And I bought the property that I'm on now in 1970 with the idea that I would be able to teach a few classes and maybe plant some plants in the ground and build a bonsai yard.
Well, you did all those things.
I have. And it's been fun.
No, this is great. Who else was in bonsai at the time? I mean, in the mid-'60s then, when things started to happen for you. Yoshimura was around?
Yoshimura was around. There was
Lynn Perry, maybe?
Lynn Perry, yeah. Lynn Perry was around. But she was associated with a group in New York, but she was in Erie, Pennsylvania. You had Jerry Stallwell. You had Marion Gillen Swan.
Icon.
Oh boy.
Brother Paul?
Down in
different
Georgia.
area.
Sure.
Georgia.
Brother Paul, absolutely.
Right. And Felton
Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He was down in Georgia. Matter of fact, he lived in a monastery for a while. Felton was a real gem. I mean, you know, if these are names, that's wonderful. Yeah.
This is all in the mid-'60s. Is that right? Do I have the era right? All these people in the mid-'60s?
Yeah.
This was sort of the beginning
on the
for
East
the
Coast,
East Coast, right?
Not long ago, you had Keith Scott out of Ohio. But it's interesting you talked about Felton Jones. What a character. But anyway, I had a call from a cousin of Felton Jones's not long ago saying that she remembers Felton talking my name when she was a little girl, and she somehow read something about me somewhere and called me to say, was I this Chase Rosade that her Uncle Felton had been talking about 40 years ago or 50 years ago or something like that? And I said I was. There were some people. I'm trying to think of who else.
Bill was later. Was it early 70s for Bill?
Bill was in
Bill Valvanis?
The late 60s. He was out in he was a Long Island Aggie he went to ag school out on Long Island before he went to Cornell. But he grew bonsai at home his mother had a bonsai garden and he helped her and did things. And then they grew bonsai in their basement up in Rochester.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know about the basement. Yeah. That's new. Speaking of Bill, okay. So I've heard Bill's version of the kidnapping in Japan with you and Bill and some bonsai professional threw you in a car.
It was Yoshida.
Had no idea where you were going. I want to hear your version. Tell me what happened there.
Okay. Well, Bill and I used to go to Japan together. He was a great guy to travel around Japan because at that time he could run. And but every time I would go to Japan, I would go back to the Kyoto, Osaka area, Nara area to see Yoshida. And I'd always let him know that I was coming. And the nice thing about it is I have no language abilities whatsoever. I'm lucky I speak English because I was married to a Japanese woman and I never spoke Japanese. I was married to a Spanish woman and I never spoke Spanish. But
all your looks, all the looks.
Anyway, so Bill and I are going to see Yoshida. At this time, Yoshida is in Osaka. That's another story. But Yoshida's in Osaka. So we find him. We go to a bath. Now, we went to a public bath. You ever think of Bill being in a public bath? he will tell you I'm probably the only person outside of his wife that's seen him skinny dipping. So we went to the public bath. We get out of the public bath, and Yoshida says, "Let's go to car." So we get in the car and we drive, and we drive, and we drive, and it's dark. We have no idea where we're going. Yoshida doesn't tell us much, but we stop at a truck stop. Now we're on one of the highways. So we're going south, and we stop in one of these truck stops, get something to eat, and then we continue on, and we had absolutely no idea where we were going. And finally, on some back road, he finds this house, gets out of the truck. By this time, it's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Goes up, bangs in the house, and this man answers, and they talk back and forth. Okay, so then we go on, and we have to find a place to stay. So we went on and found a little Japanese inn somewhere, spent the night, got up the next morning, went to this man's house, and this was Mikio Oshima.
Oh,
you know the name?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mickey Oshima
He's
was a very
famous,
good friend
sure.
of a lot of the bonsai people. And he had a nursery that grew only black pines, wonderful, wonderful black pine. And so we spent a couple of days at Oshima's place looking at all of his pines on top of the roofs and alcoves and crannies. And I was telling somebody just the other day, I said, the beauty of Oshima was he really had no employees, but he had apprentices or helpers. Right down the street was a firehouse. And these guys worked an 8-hour day. And then at the end of 8 hours, they were free to do whatever they wanted to do. So he would recruit these firemen to come up and work in his bonsai nursery. So he always had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 firemen working around the nursery. They, pulling candles, repotting trees, pulling needles on the black pines and so forth. So that was our kidnapping.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that story.
And Oshima, this is also, Oshima had he grew really beautiful black pines. He liked Sheltie collies because he would buy them up near where Bill lives, up in Rochester. And then they would ship these puppies down here to us in New Hope, and we would ship the puppies to Oshima in Japan. How do you like that? I shipped puppies, Sheltie puppies to Japan.
Kidding. Good heavens. Yeah, just to backtrack, one last question about Japan. And were you the first person to study bonsai in Japan, first Westerner?
I don't know. I could have been, if I wasn't the first, I was close. I was there in 1963. So, and I honestly, now Lynn Perry had been studying at, she was there with Murata. Lynn Perry, but I didn't know her. I didn't know her at the time. But Lynn Perry worked in the American Embassy, and she was a clerk or did something at the American Embassy. And how she made arrangements with Murata, I have no idea. But every Saturday she would take the train out to Omiya, go to Mr. Murata's nursery, and she would spend all day Saturday at Mr. Murata's nursery doing things. And this is all the stuff she has in her book, and some of the stuff is quite unique. If you've had her book or you read her book. Her studies.
Oh yeah.
And so, but again, I don't know. I'm sure there had to be some. Well, when I told you in Tokyo when I first got there, I went to
the gentleman you first studied with.
The man I first studied with. I said when I got to Japan, Mr. Kawamoto. Kawamoto had a fella working for him by the name of Tom Yamada. And he was a military man. He was from Hawaii. He was Japanese Hawaiian. And he took his discharge in Japan. And he worked for the nursery when I got there. So he was working as a bonsai nurseryman in Tokyo at this little nursery that had this bonsai saike, which he met was tray landscape with trees for bonsai.
So, I want to start looping Kevin in here because this is
we have to loop you in too.
In a more modern times.
First off, how did you meet each other? Like Michael and Chase.
Wow! I was making pots back then. I was living north of you, up in upstate New York. It was Alfred, New York. I think I might have still been just out of graduate school. Maybe I was studying ceramics and I was making bonsai containers. And I came down into the New Hope area to meet you specifically. I think I must have met you at a convention, or maybe it was just one of the club meetings up at Bill's place in Rochester, New York. But you were so supportive of what I was doing that I decided to come down and see you. And
Yeah,
that was the first of
I
it.
used to get a lot of pots from you. Well, I can still go over here into the kitchen cabinet, and there's a couple of bowls up there still that I use for my cereal and soups and things that you made.
Oh,
Yeah,
no kidding. You got some of those without holes
that's
in them.
right.
Okay. Yeah. They might not have been
But you came
mistakes.
down and
Yeah.
you gave talks on pottery and how to make them.
I've been here since basically Friday morning, and then we've been on the go, on the go, on the go. Yeah,
Mm. Mm.
trying to help out where I can. Like when I met your garden. Yep. I was just thinking the other day. I was talking to Chase. I was thinking your garden was the first professional bonsai nursery I ever went to when I was back in Portland. First time. Yep. Yep.
Really?
I remember I was so
Oh my
excited pulling
gosh.
weeds. I still am,
No
but
kidding.
yeah. I was like, can I pull weeds? Sure. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
that's one of my favorite things too. Not watering. Those are two of my favorite things. Everything, I don't know about anything else. Like confuses me, but the watering and the pulling weeds seems to, draw me in every
Right.
time. but but you're in Ohio right now.
Yeah, yeah, and been in Columbus, Ohio since about 2018. My wife just finished her PhD, so congrats to you. Awesome on that. And then I'm set to graduate in December, and then from then on, we're kind of in limbo. So, maybe back out west, trying to see where it goes.
Right.
But been trying to just get on with Chase since I met him in 2020? We just talked about it the other day,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah, it was right before my about a year or two before my daughter was born. And yeah, yeah. And just realizing it's been about 4 years since I've known Chase now. It's flown by. But we met at Jim Doyle's place. It's for the
Yeah.
Woodstock
Mhm.
class. Yeah, the 3 days of peace, love, and bonsai, they say. And
You're kidding.
I
Is that
think
the
I think it
title?
is
That
a
was the
Woodstock
title?
peace, love, and
Peace, love, and
bonsai. No,
blessings.
no, and Jim. It's really very on
That
par.
sounds like Jim. I was
Uh
just gonna say,
yeah,
yeah, that's
I
Jim.
kind of feel bad because I just didn't leave Chase alone. I just kept talking to him. I was like, hey, 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 like like, I hope it wasn't a mistake.
Look, you're here.
True.
And if you remember, Michael, I have a long driveway and I live at the end of the driveway and it's nice back in
I
here. There's
do.
no more houses today than there were when you were here, and it's a nice quiet place to be. And literally, I don't leave here someday for a week at a time. So
Oh
it's
wow.
it's
Oh my gosh. So I don't live at my studio anymore. At the garden, the apprentices live there. I live in a tiny home, which is about 30-minute bike ride away. But I no longer have the quiet that I had when I first planted myself or wheeled the tiny home here. They built a park up around me. So I was like on the edge of this community, which was this beautiful area full of beaver
Hmm.
ponds and whatnot. And that's all still there. But there was a park between me and this wilderness beaver pond area. And they built in the skate park and a
Oh wow.
mm,
playground. And it's all a lot of fun. But then from being kind of at the edge of the community, now I'm in the middle of it, which isn't really my native
Uh-huh.
place to be. I'm not really a city person to begin with, so I envy you,
how
Chase.
yeah, but how is your book coming on your living arrangements and conditions?
That's a really good question.
That good.
It's always morphing, changing. I've been working on this very small book, which is maybe appropriate because it's a small house, for the last 5 years, as long as you have known Kevin. And it's on the way to find out. I'll just leave it there. Yeah, I have no idea when it's finished.
Well, my biggest problem, I'm not in a small house. When Soli and I got together, we added a bedroom suite and we added a couple of things onto the house. My house is all in one floor, and I'm here, and I like to live alone. I don't want to live. People have talked about moving in or coming in, and I don't want anybody here. So it's fun, and I know how you feel. But the only thing is, I have too goddamn much. Um,
Yeah, I think we all do. Even I live in a tiny home. I still feel like I have too much. The only time I feel truly free is when I have a backpack on and I'm traveling to a different country, and that's all I have. For whatever reason, that sort of suits me. I don't know if I can ever make that work, but that's really
Would be the bonsai Kerouac, you know.
Well, that's like, oh, but it's like us driving from London to Calcutta, all through all those countries and so, and we
There you
lived in
go.
our car. People say, did you sleep there? Yeah, we slept in the car. We had the seats
Right in
converted
the
into
Land
Land
Rover.
Rover, seats converted into beds. We had a stove. We had this. We had that. We had everything we wanted,
Hmm.
and it worked.
Yeah, it's funny. It's only when you have more that you think you actually need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah. It kind of goes for bonsai too. I mean, in terms of the number of our
Well,
collections.
Chase and I were just talking, you know. He was just, he had a big sale last year, the book
I
stuff,
what
right?
I wanted to get rid of anything I can't carry, and at my age, everything is heavy, and including my phone. It I tried to get rid of most trees, and I'm still getting rid of things that are too heavy for me. And I may keep a half a dozen trees that are heavy that I'll need help with, but no more.
Yeah, I'm about the same. In fact, the garden doesn't run without the grace of the apprentices and a few volunteers. There's not much I can lift there anymore. So that's
Well,
nice.
Michael, I also just I showed you the Japanese maple that I planted in 1958.
Yeah. With the rock from your mother, right?
Seeds,
Holy
yeah. They planted
cow.
the Japanese maple seed in
Yeah.
1958.
I'll send you a photo, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this in a bonsai pot? Is it in your property? It's in. I want to see it. Definitely want to see
I'll
it.
make sure to send you a photo
Wow.
today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love those bonsai. Those are actually some of I'm lucky enough to caretake a few of them, and those are my favorite plants in the yard. Plants that other
Hmm.
people have started, and particularly those with history of that of that
Speaking of
range.
history, if I want to interject here real quick, I the first time I came up to Chase's, I just asked if I could help him with whatever trees I could. And I think it was like late winter, maybe. It was definitely like 3 years ago. So it was right before my daughter was born. So it was definitely almost 2 years ago, 2.5 or so. And did that, went and studied some more, came back. I came back in spring of this year, and there was a tree on the outside pedestal that I'm sure you've seen entering the studio. And Chase is like, "You're gonna repot that one too." I was like, "Okay." And this is for historical purposes, right? And discussing your trees, and I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Guess who, Kevin? Guess who did that one?" I'm like, "Chase, I have no freaking clue. We've had so many people here, I can't even begin to acknowledge anybody." He told me the tree was hadn't been touched since 1973 or 1974, around there or something. It was a John Naka tree that you just dropped
Oh
on me. He's like,
wow.
"Oh yeah, John Naka styled that and repotted that." I was like, "Okay." And the significance of that and the energy that just poured out after that was a good learning experience. But Chase, being Chase, was like, "Chase, are you sure?" He's like, "Kevin, if I didn't trust you and I didn't want you here, you wouldn't be here. So just freaking do it." Safe to say that tree was finished very delicately at 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, with the help of my friend Ryan. But that was, yeah, that's been Chase's and I's relationship, I would say, right? Just a relation of doing the work that,
Oh,
and
I am one of those few people that did know John quite well. I did
yeah.
know Yuji quite well. Uh,
Well, you went collecting with them out in California.
yeah, John was my
Yeah.
first collecting trip. I was on a trip.
Oh,
I was in a
oh
trip to
really?
California, and John said, "What are you doing tomorrow morning?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm going to be go visiting some nurseries or something." And he said, "Well, our group is going to Mojave, up to the Hanson Ranch." And so I met the guys at 3 a.m. and we drove up to Mojave or up to, not Mojave, somewhere up there for breakfast. And anyway, yeah, it was Harry and it was Ben. It was, oh God, now let me think of the names of all those guys in their trucks and their cars. But we went up there and spent a whole,
Harry
pardon me,
Hurrah.
Harry, Harry
Harry
Hurrah, yeah,
Hurrah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
whole
Got it.
crew. And then we spent the day up there digging trees. And it's amazing what they dug and how few of them survived.
Was it
Yeah,
juniper?
we were digging junipers, yes. On the Hanson Ranch.
First collecting experience has a stickiness in memory.
Well,
Yeah.
it is a nice memory because I had no idea what I was getting into or up to, and I didn't know what kind of tree, and so and John said, well, it's got a nice trunk, so cut the top out. So you cut the top out and you got this big stump with a couple of branches. And my first experience didn't survive either. So
Well, you also went collecting with Jerry Mislik and Dan Robinson and stuff, right?
I collected with Jerry and Dan and
I mean,
Larry Rack, Jackal. Yeah, I'd fly into Denver, and then I'd fly into Denver, and then I'd meet Larry and Dan, and then we spend a week out up through
Yeah.
Colorado and Wyoming, Montana.
Yep. Yeah. Amazing area for collecting. Yeah. Those are great collectors too. They really know what they were doing. Yeah. I did my first Rocky collecting trip with Larry. Really memorable. Great skills.
Yeah, neat guy. Neat guy.
He's got a great quiver of knowledge about how to extract those old ones. Boy, yeah, this is Chase. You just seem to have seen such a huge swath of decades of American bonsai. I mean, there's so much. How does it feel in terms of the change in the community? I mean, does it feel like it's changed a lot, or
It's
what's your
it's
impression
changed.
there?
I mean, the trees have gotten nicer. The trees have gotten better. There's more people involved. I can't say they're nicer. No, they are. They
except
are.
for a few.
And there's really, the opportunity that you had and your associates have had going to Japan and spending the apprenticeships that they've taken in Japan, I think are just wonderful. I feel sorry that maybe if I had been known a little more about it, or maybe I spoke the language a little more, I would have stayed a lot longer. I have no idea. I still feel I'm a student of bonsai. I'm still learning. There's still so much out there that I really don't know, and things that other people do know. And
That's the thing with Chase. I'll say, since I've met him, I've become more of a humble person just knowing him, and not you get some whatever somebody says you have a cool tree and maybe stroke the ego a little bit or whatever, when you're starting out. But talking to Chase is seeing how so humbling he is in relation of like just giving little tidbits and then he drops the big bomb. It's like, oh, that's a big story. But there's a lot more to that than we think about. Just even now, like just this time at this almost a week I've been with him, he's dropped a lot of great little anecdotes and things. And something that he told me, he's like, because I'm in school for horticulture. He's like, "Oh yeah, you have the updated version. Let me know what you think." It's like, oh, okay, sure, And I was like, just things like that. Like I learned so much from him, just in relation about being a human in bonsai, but also how it's just benefited his life and how it's made him a better person. It really is that transcontinental thing, almost where it's like you're riding a train to somewhere and you end up a complete different place. You in Calcutta.
well, but other than that, I mean, bonsai has taken me the world. I mean, if it wouldn't be for, I don't know, would have I been to China? Would have I been to India? Would have I been to New Zealand? Would have I been to South Africa? Would have I been to God knows where? I've done a lot of traveling. Now I haven't traveled in a long time, and I don't miss it. Uh, but I did do a lot of traveling, and it created some problems. But it was wonderful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the history you have, Chase, and I'm so glad I get. Thank you for also letting me be a part of this, Michael. Just hearing your both history together, because the pot, like I'm saying again, the pots that I found, we spent 2 whole days just going through pots. I mean, he has still so many pots. You have too many pots, Chase. Um, but the ones that were for keeps for Chase is like I'm keeping those. You have a good majority of pots in there that we.
I will just tell you one thing. When I first went into the bonsai business, I was approached by a liquidator that they had pots, that they had liquidated somebody or something, and they had all these pots. And was I interested in buying them? And at first I said no, and then I started figuring it out. And regardless of whether it was this small or this big or whatever, the cost of each pot was $1.
Oh, wow.
So I bought a lot of pots.
Glory days.
I mean, because the bill was thousands of dollars that I really didn't have at the time. But I thought, helping those pots was really great. And there were some of the ugliest pots you have ever seen in your life. Just hard. Pots that I shoved out of the way that I've forgotten for 15 or 20 years. And Within the past couple of years, I have found out that these ugly pots are Chinese. They are old pots.
Hmm.
They are worth some money. Uh,
Return of investment.
I put a new roof on my garage last year for the cost of one pot.
They're big too.
Okay. Okay.
That is an amazing. I haven't told that to too many people, but really, somebody made a comment. You know, that pot's got to be worth a lot of money. Shit, a couple of $100. You get one. You go to one dealer and they look at it and say, "Well, you know, it's probably worth $1,000." And then somebody else says, "Well, we ought to go to a group in New York and let them evaluate it." And they say, "Well, look at the wood on the box and look at the box and look at the signature and look at the clay." He said, "That's worth at least 10,000." And I'm saying, "Holy shit," and so, and I mean, I don't need an antique pot. I mean, that's,
They sold a lot, but you still have so many. It's crazy.
well, no, there were only a few antique pots.
Oh, but all the pots you have though, it's like, the thing that's funny with Chase is since my time with him, I always hear these stories about people. "Ah, I know this person in New Hope. He knows the whole town. Honestly, it's crazy. But just yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Friday and Saturday both. No, no, it was Friday. I was inside working on trees, just shaping up some stuff for clients. Because as Chase said, he sold a lot of his trees, and the majority of trees now, if I can say, Chase, are client trees, which is a great thing to have. Because keeps the house on, the heat warm in winter. And within like 3 hours, I think there was like 5 people that stopped by or something. It had to be. There was that girl that came in from Colombia and whatnot, and then she bought it for her boss, and then there was the other people that came in, and then Saturday people came, and then I was like, wow. For a person out in the boonies in the woods, you still have a good reach and a wonderful aspiration to get better. It's just
And my website hasn't been improved since 2 years. I mean, I've got to get that. I've got to get that up to date.
your name precedes you.
I think you pull people in. Yeah, just to sort of riff off of what Kevin is saying here. I think I was drawn to Chase all those years ago because I felt warmth
Mm,
of welcome. There was this acceptance. There was this encouragement that I think back then I was a really shy, kind of a twitchy person, and people who were a little bit too aggressive, I just stayed away from. And Chase never came off that way.
100%. Still the same.
The welcoming part is certainly why there's no need for the website or worries about where you are. People are going to find you.
And the thing I've noticed too is Chase is always down to try something new or something different and maybe it works, maybe it does. What led you to that, Chase? Like, how did you get so open to trying, especially with trees? How did you get so open to that? Because there's a lot of people we've met probably, and we all know here in this conversation that were, no, I don't want to do that. It's my tree. Like, well, why are you so available to be open to the process? Yeah.
Oh, I see what other people do, and if they can do something like it, I can do something like it, or I can try that, or I can. I'm just amazed at some of the trees that are out there and some of the antics that they go through. I look at some of your trees and pictures of your trees,
Mm,
Michael, and I'm saying, wow, look at that.
beautiful.
He's got it for a long time, and look at what you've done, and look what you've come up with in some of your styling. And and we have to think contemporary. We can't think old time.
Mm.
And how are we going to advance the trees to be better?
I have a question for you both. I would like to hear both your sides, as you are both professionals in this realm of, making a living and earning and with small trees and plants. Do you think it's still a good base for people to learn the traditional standpoints and then go contemporary? Or is there a shoot now that is easier access for people to go contemporary without, sprinkles of traditional?
Okay. I'll go first. I really think it's a great thing to have a grounding in tradition and then find your own way. I do understand, the second path that you're talking about. It's almost like leapfrogging
Hmm.
technology. As third world nations will say, okay, let's not put up the telephone pole. Let's just go right to cell phones. If they haven't had the telephone pole yet. But I think actually that in bonsai you kind of need the telephone in place. But that's my opinion. I think it's a stronger place to begin, also because there's so much about the basic horticulture that you get through tradition, using traditional techniques, even if you don't want to be an egghead about horticulture. If you follow the steps, your plant will.
Right.
Well, that's right. You find, yes.
After that, it's the hat we wear. It's.
No, I think you're right there. I mean, it's you can put a plant in a pot, but you're going to be able to keep it alive. And so I think the idea of what you said about traditionals and so forth is there's a lot to it. And you may listen to your iPad or whatever the case happens to be, but you've got to learn how to read, and you've got to learn a little bit about spelling, and you've got to learn a little bit about things in life. And so it's the same way with your bonsai. And the more you've learned the primary things to the things, the more you're going to know, and the more you're going to progress.
That's
So
yeah.
it's
That's a question I get a lot, and I guess like, from you both having been to Japan in different periods of time, do you still think it's a valuable effort for people to get over there and see the values of the trees that were once, then still are great, but just a different economy now? Do you think it still holds value?
I think it's very valuable. I mean, you go to your teacher's place and look at his place from
Oh,
when you started there and what it looks like today, and
beautiful.
what it's going to look like in the future. That guy's phenomenal.
Thank you again.
And you go off,
Yeah.
and then you go off to some of
Sure.
the others and see some of the older people. I was showing you the book of Kyozo Murata the other day, his Four Seasons.
Oh yeah.
And just the
Love that
simpleness of the
book.
beautiful little garden. And I was telling you, we used to go in there and see the garden, and he would be there, and we'd bow at each other, and then his wife would make tea, and we'd sit down and we'd drink some tea and look at the trees and the little shohens and the little kusamonos that she had in the front of the shop there. It was just wonderful. And and they were inviting. They were the nursery, the oldest nursery in Omiya, and the people who always invited strangers into their nursery. That was very important to me.
Yeah, I thought he was the best of the time. He just kind of epitomized the elder aesthete.
Yes,
Someone
yeah.
who was interested in many different types of creativity and expression. It wasn't just bonsai. He had a really deep background, very inventive person. He designed a lot of the tools, most of the bonsai tools that we use today. Murata, the author of the Four Seasons of Bonsai. And there's a handful that feel today like kind of the best of the moment. Suzuki and others who create plants that just sort of seem like they're not only based in tradition, but there's something a little modern, fresh about them as well.
Yeah.
They're different today. I mean, the feeling is different. It's a different architecture.
Yes. Do you think it's a change in personality and culture, or just the individual personality?
Absolutely, yeah, and technique.
Yeah,
I mean, there really are things that have become mainstream for bonsai technique that were not mainstream bonsai technique in the 60s. Like when Murata had his garden, for instance, not everybody was doing black pine decandling. It was, as I understand, it was discovered in the late 30s, but it really didn't become mainstream for quite a while. You can see the old Kokufu books. And the trees have clearly not been decandled. They're leggy. They look like the black pines look like red pines. So technique is part of it, but certainly the culture that everything can get speeded up. Because you have clients who want to buy things, and there's that whole thing.
And then there's some trees that almost are so manicured that they look artificial.
And it goes that way as well. Yeah. There was a time when whitewashing your shari and putting a little oil on the live vein of junipers was super hip, and these days it often feels artificial.
That's interesting.
Yeah, feels like a piece of ceramics or something off of which some sort of foliage is growing. So there's been a return to natural.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of stuff that I've witnessed just with Chase, just his last, I'm leaving Tuesday morning, and I'll be about 5 days I've been with him. should be the longest time I've been. I go when my wife and daughter are in Japan visiting family. Plane tickets are expensive. um, um, he's got so many projects going on now for himself. All the cuttings you're doing, all the maple seedlings. You have thousands of maple seedlings out here, obviously. But how do you get your inspiration for the projects you want to continue still? Like what drives your force? Like I guess my question is, how do you keep going with wanting to improve yourself and not just sit back and continue the work you've always done?
Hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. I mean, Michael, on my next birthday, I'll be 90, and it's
All
in
right.
January. But I've got all these little projects. I mean, I want to see how it works. I want to see how it works if I put whatever I'm doing.
Air layers. I
I
know
talked about air layering.
yeah.
I've not done much of it. I'd like to do some more. Uh, and also they have to be smaller trees. That's where I am.
So, Michael, I guess the question I have for you, just for my own greedy knowledge, um, did you ever study with Chase outside of pottery or anything with that? Did you ever study trees or seen a Chase tree anywhere in the circle of shows or anything?
Oh, I remember them. Yeah, absolutely. But Chase was often the one giving out the awards, right? The Rosade
That's
Design
right.
Wait,
Award. Is
what?
that
I didn't know
right?
about this.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
You tell.
Yeah. Oh,
Man of
good.
mystery
Let's
right
have
here.
Chase talk about
Shh.
the
Keeping
award.
it silent on the
I,
rug.
I've forgotten about
He's
it.
very
Well, Tony was
modest.
made because she used to get those medallions made down in Colombia, and then they got harder to get made.
So they
And
did.
yeah, I don't even know whether there's any of those around, but yeah, we gave some of those away. No, it was at conventions, and it usually was the tree that we thought was the best. It probably wasn't the best. Uh,
How did that come about?
but then, but the award,
Yeah,
Tony was a
the
great
rosé.
person for wanting to recognize people for their efforts and their
Hmm.
things, and so we decided we would make a Rosade award for the best of show or what have you. So if we went to the show and we were at the show, we would present a couple of awards.
You just slip them on there, secretive like a ninja.
Secretly, they were it was a medallion usually about so big.
That's great.
I remember this. Every convention I was at where Chase would present this, it was a bit of an event. Chase would step out there up to the podium, usually while people were eating, the dinners, and he would say, "We think this tree is the best." And when I say we, I mean my wife solely. Has everybody met my wonderful wife solely? And it was just so memorable.
Yes.
I never
Yes.
forget it. It's every time you would give her the nod. But was it sort of her idea,
No,
or
it
was
was
that
her. It
just
was her idea. But it's and you say about the wonderful wife Soli. She was president of BCI for 4 years, and she was president of the World Bonsai Federation for 4 years. And we had a lot of fun.
It's a power.
I mean, everybody knew that Soli was going to be having a party in her room, and we always ended up getting one of the better rooms. And
You get the phone calls like, "Sir, can you please quiet down?"
make sure we get
Colombians
make
know how
sure
to
we
party,
get
huh?
enough wine or enough something or another,
Ain't no party like a bonsai party.
and you'd get into country or get the places and where it was dry, and so we would end up having some wine or having something laying around.
Well, that's
It'll be
amazing.
fun. It was fun.
How long did you do that for? How long did the awards go on for? Would you bring them back?
I don't know.
Okay.
A long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'd forget for a year or two, and then we go back and do it again. And
Would you like to see more people having those kind of awards as far
not
as like?
necessarily.
Okay.
We were we were the only one really sort of doing it, so it made it a little bit special. If you have a lot of them out there, then what difference does it make? I shouldn't say it that way.
That's true. I mean, it holds value because it was particularly, from you guys as well, right? See, those are the things I wish I could even step back in time or just watch a video of, and being that I didn't start fully divulging my life to bonsai and call it insanity, but so like 2016, but since then it's just been swimming in the deep end and, dog paddling every which way I can go. But I mean,
And remember, you have another 50 years to go.
more maybe help.
Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
Look at Michael. He's not ready to give up the ship. He's having fun.
Yeah, I don't dog paddle very well anymore.
He's sitting the floaties and it's like, I got it, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you continually getting people to ask become apprentices of yours?
Yes,
That's good.
yeah.
That's great.
Usually every month or two, and so far I've only had one at a time, and yeah, we have another coming in. Carmen is wrapping up here in a few months, leaving this fall, and Patch is starting. And we have a 5-year agreement.
5-year agreement.
Okay, wow.
And yeah. Patch is a local.
Is that your longest term?
In fact, Carmen, I think Patch
Nice.
will be. Yeah. Carmen, I think, is the only one who. No, I take that back. Andrew also came from out of town, but Bobby and John were both locals. So there's been a fair number of locals, disproportionately.
And they all live within your house, right?
Since Andrew, Andrew was the first. Partway through Andrew's apprenticeship, I was building the tiny home, and since then, so yeah, the last 3 apprentices have been living there, and they've had families. John and Carmen, and also the incoming Patch, have all had young families. That's been fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's really cool that you had that opportunity. I know we talked about that when we.
No, that sounds like I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and that you are doing it.
Because not everybody can get to Japan, It's like.
Well, I was just going to say that all of my apprentices, for one reason or another, Japan was not an option for them, and to some degree, it had to do with families that they might have already created. There were some other reasons, but it's been a bit unusual. I think that it seems that every one of my apprentices has been kind of the alternative story. Yeah, but I've enjoyed it. I'm childless myself, but but the apprentices have felt like my kids. It's great fun.
Speaking of children in bonsai, Chase is I called it. When before my daughter was born, I said, Chase, do you mind being my daughter's honorary bonsai grandpa? He's like, I'm OG. I'm like, yeah, you can be OG. He's like, all right, And Chase gave her my daughter's name Juniper, and he gave her first juniper this last spring. Or no.
Well, her name's Juniper. She should
right.
have a Juniper. I was surprised when I found out she didn't have
I was
one.
late to the party. Changing diapers. And it's and with her seeing that, I make it a point every day for her to I have my little bonsai area, my yard. Thank you to my landlord. Shout out to him. And she goes up to it and pats it really nicely because I showed her, you don't go crazy. She pats it like a dog, and she now says konnichiwa with a bow, and all those little things. And I brought it up here this time, and Chase and I are gonna work on it together, and it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be fun.
Well, it is nice, and I'm sure you go through the same boat I go through. Sometimes there's a lot of people who've taken classes from me who do not tell me, they don't admit taking classes from me, which is fine. There are also those people who have taken classes from me and talk about it all the time, and whether it's good or bad. And
no names given.
no names given. Well, I only sent one person to Japan, so.
No, it was Bob Mailer, right?
That was Bob Mailer.
Is that Bobby? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we went out to his nursery yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many koi. It's amazing.
He's involved in koi, and he's involved in the nursery field, and he's got a lot going. I mean, I don't know how he can do what he's doing, but
is he nearby?
About an hour. No, yeah, about an hour away, west of me.
Okay.
It's probably 15 miles as a crow flies. But it is fun to see how the whole art of bonsai and the world is progressing, and the newer people in it, and people that are trying the whole thing, and people making it work, and different kinds of plants. I think what Weichert is doing with tropicals is amazing. but I think it's a big move, and there's really a great need for indoor trees. Whether you like it or not, I think there's just a tremendous. Well, we trimmed one the other night
Yeah.
when I was invited out to dinner, and
A native plum, yeah.
I took our just scissors with us, and we pruned the customer's tree.
And the house. Yeah, that's what we did. This is what
Nice.
Chase life is like. Okay. And Chase, someone I wanted to ask you, and not to put you on the spot, but do you plan on showing a tree in the next national show?
I told you I was going to prune that or prune. I was going to show that maple in the last national show,
Right.
and it looked shitty.
The one from
The one
your oldest
my oldest one,
Yeah,
it
your
just
first one.
looked horrible. It
Yeah.
just did not look well. And I don't know what I did, what I didn't do, but it wasn't doing it. And so this spring I've repotted it. I pruned it back hard. So I would think that by next year it'll be all right.
That's good. It's like,
That's my thought.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that because whenever Chase at a show, it's always a good time.
No, no, there's a lot of good trees out there. I mean, I'm amazed at some of the trees that are out there and some of the stuff that people are doing.
Mm.
You may or you may not agree with it all, but I like what I see.
Do you have any hopes for people starting bonsai now? Is like what you want to see going forward as far as like what's already been done? Where can it go next?
Wow, where could it go next? Oh, I'm not sure, but certainly, in the display, using it in the household situation. I don't always have a bonsai in the house, but I'm going to say 90% of the time I have a tree in here as a focal point, a place where it could be used. And I think we'll see more of that. And also what I found is happening also in some respects is that you were talking about people bringing trees in here. Some of these people they really don't care a whole hell of a lot how well it's growing, whether it's well designed or not. They want a bonsai.
Mm.
And so I feel it's up to me to make sure that they have a nice bonsai. At least if they bring it here for care, I repot it. And I'll have people who will come in here religiously every 3 years with 5 trees and say, well, they need a tune-up. So I may keep them for a couple of months and tune them up, let them take them home, and now they've got them at home again. So
Yeah, I do more and more of that as well.
I don't want to get it because, and it's like shows. I think there's a lot of shows around, but I hope it doesn't get like dog shows or some of these things where there's so goddamn many of them.
Mm.
But there's a lot of little shows. It's getting to the point where there's so many little shows you could miss them all, or some of them anyway.
Yeah. Chase, you have so much history, man. It's hard to take in sometimes.
Well, Michael, it's so nice to see you, and you still have your great smile. And I'm looking at your chimney, your pipe going up there. Is that your only heat you have in the place?
It was for 3 years. I put in a mini split a couple of years ago, and it's much more energy efficient. But I do like the wood stove. I cook on it now and
Now
then.
you said a mini split. What do you mean by a mini split?
It's a heat pump. So it both heats the home, and then I could just hit another button, and it also serves as air conditioning. It's really interesting technology. Works on like the geothermal kind of technology. Yeah, it's really low electricity use.
Well, that's what I've been reading about these newer things that are really the way to go. I'm certainly not going to do it because I won't be around that long. But I still do a lot of wood heat in the wintertime. I have a lot of wood. I live in the woods where there's always dead trees out there. I have a wood burning stove.
Yeah.
Living right in the room here. And this is where I camp in the wintertime in front of my stove and often crawl into the bed.
Soaks into the bones. It is a different kind of heat. Yeah, directional.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good seeing you again, my friend. And I hope I get out there to see Jonas's affair, and I'm sure I'll see you if I get there.
And then we'll see each other in person. That would be wonderful to see you out there. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us and giving us the recent perspective.
I hope it was recent
what's
enough.
going on in Chase's place.
I hope I said the right things and gave you the right information. I mean,
We'll fact
it's like I talked about. It's like I talked about the other day, and I thought being in Calcutta and happened to meet Mother Teresa while I was in Calcutta. You know, that's a whole nother
You just
story.
dropped that on me like there's no big deal.
You
I was
did?
like, what? Chase,
My
come on, man.
gosh.
Just leave it at that. Hey, I met Mother Teresa. I'm like, that's normal for anybody, sure. But I still got the stories, you know. I'll say if anybody listens to this, and Michael, you can edit this out if you want, but talk to Chase. Talk to him, ask questions, just know him.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. To my best friends, thank you again. And a new friend, an old friend, good luck. Have fun. Enjoy what you're doing. And
Thank you,
get together
Chase.
soon. Right. Bye.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Music on today's podcast is brought to you by the fine folks at Blue Dot Sessions. Check them out at www.sessions.blue.